streaming, but it takes about 30 seconds to show up on Facebook. So, and we've got about another 30 seconds before the program starts. Let me refresh my Facebook page and see if we're there. And we are there. Okay, so I'm on the Facebook page. All is there. Okay. Everything is good. Everything looks good. So folks that are there on Facebook, you can start typing in to let me know how does the audio sound. And then when Blanca comes on, please let us know as well how well she sounds on the program. And we're about ready to go.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alrighty. Okay.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good evening, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. I'm your host here again tonight on the Sedona Connection. This is the November 6th program. We want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight as I'm coming from my home in Boca Raton, Florida, because it's, let's see, it is even after we changed the clocks this week. It's 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. And I used to say, well, it's 7 p.m. in my home in Sedona, Arizona. No. It's 9 o'clock in my home in Boca Raton, Florida. And a lot of you have been asking the questions about how am I enjoying it. I'm loving the subtropical climate here in South Florida, folks. So this is nice. It's a new home for me and everything is good. And yes, all is well here in Boca Raton, Florida. We just finished our cruise that we had that I had been putting on, the website. And it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the people seemed to love it. We came together. We didn't spend a lot of program time. Most of us was just spending time together, enjoying our time together. And it wasn't a long cruise. It was basically a 3-night cruise. We left Miami, spent Sunday in the Bahamas, in Nassau, Bahamas. And then we arrived back in Miami at 8 o'clock on Monday morning, and everybody went on their way. And all the comments is that it's been very, very good. So we're just wanting to know how well it is. So already I got some people writing in on Facebook and says, is it snowing, Dave? No, it's 80.6 degrees here in Boca Raton, Florida. So all you folks up in the Northland, well, I'm sorry if you got cold weather and snow coming in and who knows what, but I mean, here it is. It's 9 o'clock in the evening in South Florida, and it's still 80 degrees. So all is well here, folks. And with that, Blanca, how are you doing this fine evening in Atlanta, Georgia tonight?
I'm doing very well, Dave. Thank you. And also, of course, enjoying the mild weather here. And so there you go. And for folks who've got snow and terrible climate, well, we hope you can not feel too bad. Put it that way. Don't want to
there were some. There was.
The thing is, I don't feel as guilty because I grew up in Chicago, so I know how brutal winters can be. So I am enjoying being in the South. But anyway, you were saying?
Well, we had a couple people on the cruise that joined us from Sweden, and. Yes, they knew they were going back to cold weather and snow in Sweden. So, and even the folks in Minnesota, they were saying, oh my gosh, I got to go back to that freezing cold weather. And I understand, I've seen the weather report that there's supposed to be another cold front coming down from up in Arctic front from up in Canada. And but we just seem to do very, very well here in southern Florida. Okay, I won't talk about that anymore, okay? So the next thing you know, half the world's going to want to come here and join us. So, yes, so Blanca, is there anything else, any other comments that you have tonight? Anything else you'd like to share with us? So.
No, I just told you a little bit at the beginning. I don't know, some people do pay attention to what's happening with the stars, etc. But right now is a time for some major changes. And so I just want to alert people to just use this time to appreciate those that are near you and those that you love. And also at this time, if you've been thinking about removing certain things from your life, now's a good time to go ahead and do it. The energy is for letting go of things that are no longer needed, or to move on to something else. And I'm being very generic here on purpose, but I just want to acknowledge that for people who may be in making decisions about letting go of things or taking a step in a different direction.
Okay. I'm getting some comments there on Facebook that Blanca, they can barely hear you. So let's see. My gain is pretty strong. My volume is pretty strong. You might want to see if you can pick up your volume a little bit on your end, Blanca. So, okay.
Okay, I will.
Already, I can already tell that's a little bit better.
All right. So hopefully that'll come in very good. Thank you.
Yeah, so, and I did mention, folks, last week that I'm probably going to be making a shift over to free conference calls because I think then we can get around those issues of the sound issues between Blanca and I, and you will still have the ability to call in and make comments if you want to, because I wanted to make sure that we had that, but yeah, it takes me a little bit to get all that set up, and I was gone over the weekend and a couple days there, so I didn't get that done before this week's program, so. But we're going to work on doing that. So, but as I said, the cruise was absolutely fantastic, folks, and it was so good. We all came away saying, "Let's do this again." So we're looking at in the springtime. We will do another cruise that's very similar. It'll be like a 3-night or a 4-night cruise based out of Miami, is what it will be, because those are just great ones. They say Miami is the cruise capital of the world. That's what they say. So. We'll do that there, and I said it was a wonderful time. And then a week from Saturday, we got the workshop in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. All the information is on the website. We would still love to have you. We got plenty of room that is there. And again, folks, if money is tight for you, we have the scholarship rates that are available. So all you have to do is just go to the website, read through there, and then make a request for that price. And we always want you to be able to come if it is possible, because if you want to be there. And obviously at the workshops, I am able to give out more information that I just cannot put out on the internet, because internet's a whole different ballgame. Once something's on the internet, you can kind of totally lose control of it, because it's open to the world for anybody to take it and shift it and change it and do whatever they want with it. So there's some information that I can give to a small group verbally, and I can do that at workshops is what I can. So that's the one there. We got November 16th. And then the following 3 weeks after that, in December, I think it's December 6th, if I'm correct. But it's I don't have my calendar right in front of me, but it's on the website. We're going to be in Phoenix. And that will be the end of the workshops for this year, and I will not be doing another one until about the 3rd week in January. So there will be basically about a 7-week break in there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some time to, I've got a membership with Diamond Resorts, so I'll probably get away and go to some resort somewhere for a week, and I'm just going to rewrite the whole program for the workshops as we start moving into the new content. I will always carry over some of the current content, but a lot of that's going to be phased back as new content's going to be brought into how does this apply to us? What's our purpose for it and all this? So with that, Blanca, is there any other comments that you would like to make before I want to give some general comments, and then before I go into the program itself. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, Dave, we're good.
Okay. I had mentioned a couple of weeks ago I'm probably going to change the name of the workshop and my program here. It's always been called the Sedona Connection, and I lived in Sedona, Arizona for about almost 7 years. Well, I don't live there anymore, and if you notice that banner in the back, that's not congruent to Florida. So I'm looking at changing the name to the Cosmic Connection. Well, I did my research on this, and if you go into the dictionary, cosmology is commonly known as basically the study of the stars in the universe. But there's a secondary definition that is not that talked about that much, and cosmology basically means the merging of science and spirituality is what it is. So I've got this little definition that I'm going to use for what is called the cosmology. It's the merging of science and spirituality that gives meaning to the purpose of the universe. Let me say that again. Cosmology. The merging of science and spirituality that gives meaning to the purpose of the universe. And that really fits a lot of what I'm going to be talking about. I've been alluding to it, some of it, because I talk about the works of A.R. Borden, who really is the master at cosmology, merging of science and spirituality. He got that to the full extent. The wing makers get that stuff very, very well. And you're always hearing me talking about, the work of A.R. Borden, the Neruda interviews, the wing makers, and Gary Bernard's books from Disappearance of the Universe. So, because what's happening here? Well, I've talked about in a program about a year ago is that we're entering into a new world. We're entering into a new age and a new era of time. We have lived in a world that has been dominated by what we would call Newtonian physics, third dimension physical world of physics, where everything is solid, everything is concrete, very little shifts and changes, everything is determined as it is already within the concept of the physics of science. And then quantum physics came away and just blew Newtonian physics out of the water. Quantum physics says everything is energy. Everything is energy, because the quantum level of physics is the level that's below the atoms, and it defines everything as nothing but massive and moving energy. And so we're moving from an understanding of Newtonian world into what is called the quantum holographic world. The whole world is nothing but a holographic illusion of massive energy that gives out perceptions based on our human consciousness. And we're going to start becoming what I refer to as the quantum holographic beings. That means we're understanding that nothing is etched in stone. Nothing is solid and physical. Everything is subject to change. And we create the change through our consciousness, through our thoughts. That's going to be the new paradigm of our cosmology, if you want to say that, of our world, of our planet, and of our universe that we're going to be moving into over the next 50 to 100 years. What's interesting in the world of quantum holographic living is it means life is unlimited. The only limits that we have is the limits of our thoughts, the limits of our consciousness. Because in the books by A.R. Borden and others, they show that consciousness is what puts the cosmology into place. Consciousness is what creates the universe. Consciousness is what creates your experiences. And everything within that, seems to have a coordinated sense. So it's in those books that comes out of from that perspective. Now, what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to actually share some books with you. So hold on here just a second. And these are books that I would highly, highly encourage you to get a hold of and do your own reading if you really want to understand where this is going. Because you see, by moving into what is called, the quantum holographic being, it means you live in a world of no limitations. You basically get to live in the world of the miracles that was very similar to the life that Jesus lived. In fact, A.R. Borden has actually written a book called Become Like God. He says we as physicists and scientists understand how he was able to do everything that he did. He lived in the unlimited world and he had no limitation to what he could do. And he says, we as scientists, we can do that as well. And Borden and his colleagues could. They were the scientists that basically knew how to do the ultimate beam me up, Scotty. They could teleport their bodies anywhere they wanted to. They could time travel. They had the process of LERM, being able to create and make anything appear right in front of them, because they understood it was consciousness moving energy through the thought process that creates everything around us. Now, I'm going to share a book with you here by Borden. It's called, let's see if I can get it that way, Ultimate Thought. All creation is idiomaterial thought and matter. Now, you can go to a Facebook page, The Writings of A.R. Borden, and if you ask to be a member on that page, then you have access to what is called the Files tab, and you click on that tab, And that's where Borden's 43 books, white papers, and essays are. Now, you can even get this book. It's there in PDF format, but it is available in physical print. On that on that Facebook page, it will tell you the publisher where you can go and you can order this book. Now, let me share. This is a book that you're not just going to browse through this, folks. This is a book, one of those where A.R. Borden, when he worked with Michael Lee Hill, he says, you probably got to have a dictionary sitting beside you, okay? You're going to read a paragraph here, and you're going to have to stop and say, what did I just read here? Because if you want to process and understand it as you're going through the book. This man was an absolute genius, and you will be hearing me referring to him more and more in the future. A secondary book that I've always talked about with the issue of money, it's called The Energy of Money, A Spiritual Guide to Financial and Personal Fulfillment by Maria Nemeth, PhD. This is an excellent book that lets you understand that money itself is a form of energy. Now, a book that has always been very foundational about the fact that the world we live in is a holographic universe is just that. The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot. Talbot goes in and talks about how the shift from Newtonian physics into quantum-based physics and how everything is defined as being nothing but a hologram in everything that we experience. Now, I've got 3 new books that I have ordered. I haven't read them yet, but they have become very, very highly recommended to me. And I'm just going to go ahead and share them anyway. And if you read them before I do, you can maybe send me something that you want to for, your comments on it. But here's one. It's called Biocentrism: How Life and Consciousness Are the Keys to Understanding the True Nature of the Universe. Hello? Isn't that just what I talked about with A.R. Borden? How Life and Consciousness Are the Keys to Understanding the True Nature of the Universe. Biocentrism. The second one, The Quantum Revolution: A Radical Synthesis of Science and Spirituality, i.e., by Paul Levy, i.e., the definition of cosmology, the merging of science and spirituality. And he says, the quantum revelation, the radical synthesis of science and spirituality. And then the third book of the new ones, and this is the last one, it's called Quantum Enigma: Physics Encounters Consciousness by Bruce Rosenblum and Fred Kuttner. Quantum Enigma: Physics Encounters Consciousness. Now, one of the things that I've always had that a lot of people have told me after the workshops is that one of my talents is I have this ability to take technical things, technical issues, technical explanations, and explain them in a simplified form that makes sense. And that's what I'm going to do, folks. I'm going to take what's in these books and start helping us through this transition. And yes, the money is involved in all of that because money is energy in itself. You saw what it's called, the energy of money, one of the books that is referred to you there. And so after I finish the workshop in Phoenix, I have that 7-week break. That's where I'm going to start doing most of this new research. And I'm going to start shifting the content of the workshop to include a lot of this, again, always along with the money. Because at the end of the day, that's one of the reasons why we're here. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with understanding that it's about, it is about money, because money is very, very much a part of our lives. It's a dominant part of our lives, and we don't live in this world without it. So, the cosmic connection, moving into the sense of consciousness and spirituality and science and how it all fits in together. And so it's somewhat like that. The new name will fit a lot of these things that I just shared with you here. So before I go into the program, Blanca, why don't you come on and just share with me some of your thoughts about all that stuff that I just shared?
Well, of course, you mentioned that science, it's funny how it took science a long time to get where the metaphysicians have been and the wise and ancient teachers have been in terms of the nature of consciousness and its relation to reality, which is consciousness is reality and reality is consciousness. And so for people, a lot of people do like to learn and take up new ideas, but I think as things are shifting so rapidly, and awareness is increasing so rapidly that we might as well create some new brain cells by reading some of these books. I think that things are happening so quickly that if we don't keep up, we may be left behind. Let's just get on the train.
Yes, Jesus himself said in the Gospels that everything I do, you can do as well, and even more. And look around us in the world around us. How many people do we see doing the things that he did? How many people are living this life of what we would call the miraculous? How many people can lay their hands on people and heal people? How many people can, make things appear out of nothing? How many people can move and teleport their bodies? How many people can walk on water? He understood the world of physics, and he understood that it's all just an illusion. And when you have an understanding of that, that gets integrated down into what is called the subconscious mind, because it's from there that you live and where you believe stuff. And that's the purpose for the teaching. The teaching is to integrate that into our lives. Then it becomes easier for us to integrate that into your life and to touch others as well. This is where we're going. This is the world we're moving into. This is going to be the future of the human race. Now, how long is it going to take before this reaches what I call a common state of the masses? Decades. But there's always a group of people that are basically the trailblazers and the pioneers that start the process, and they're the ones that lead the way for others to learn from, to where it becomes an automatic, a part of their lives as well. And that's what we're doing, because, Blanca, you just made the comment. There were always what are called the spiritual masters, the strong spiritual teachers. For thousands of years, they knew this stuff. But it was very difficult to get that and have the masses pick it up to integrate it into their lives. Well, what's shifted and changed for us now is the value of the internet. To have this repetitively taught to us by different sources, just sitting in our homes, being on our computer, or even on our phones. As much as a smartphone, you have the access to the whole world for you. So that's what's changed for us, and that access to information is going to help us make the change that we're ready to make. And where does the money fit into all this? The money is the precursor, because we have for thousands of years lived in various forms of financial slavery, where we are dependent either upon money, as little as, you've heard me say this before, we live in a world that almost half of the world's population, almost 4 billion people, live on less than $10 a day. That's basic survival, folks. You don't have any time to learn hardly anything, because your whole life is based on just getting enough money just to live. And then for the rest of us that live in this modern world, we're slaves to our jobs. We're totally slaves to the jobs and how it dominates our time, so we don't have the time to learn this. The purpose of the funds is to set you financially free so you can help other people and have the time to be the pioneers and the trailblazers in bringing in this new world. Because it will take time, and it will take work, it will take study, it will take implementing practice in your life to make this stuff happen. And in the next couple of years, that's what I plan on putting the workshop together, is to take us through this process, and so we can learn this together, because I'm going to be learning it right along with you. I understand it consciously in my mind here, but it hasn't yet integrated into the subconscious mind. Now, why am I saying that? Because our behaviors and our beliefs don't come from the conscious mind, they come from the subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind still has memories in it that is programmed from thousands of years ago, and the scores, if not hundreds of lifetimes that we have lived, saying to ourselves, I can't do that. That is not possible. I can't teleport my body anywhere. That is not possible. So we have literally thousands of years of programming at the subconscious mind that has to be undone. And it takes work. It takes consistent, repetitive work to reprogram the subconscious mind to where I can't do it to where I can do it. And then the more you do it, the more automatic it becomes within your life. That's the world we're moving into. And that's the world that I want to be a part of. I'm excited about what's coming for our world. And I'm really delighted about being able to bring that to you. So that's going to be the future of what we're going to be doing here at the Cosmic Connection in transitioning from the Sedona Connection. And that will come next year. So with that, Blanca, any other comments that you'd like to leave with us?
No, I think we're good. It is exciting. It is exciting to step into the new, and it's exciting to be empowered and to choose empowerment.
Okay, so with that, then I'm going to go into the program of the general updates that I was going to talk about on the currency exchange and the Meta One coin. Now, 2 weeks ago, I was away on a business trip. And I was not at that time, I did not have the liberty to basically tell you where I was because of some security issues. Basically, folks, I took a trip to Reno, Nevada. Now, as you know, and anybody who's been understanding and following anything about the currency exchange, it's like Reno seems to be the center of where all this stuff is happening. Well, I found something else there. I found something out. No, it's not. Reno has been the place where a lot of stuff has taken place, but there is nothing tangible in Reno anymore. There is a gentleman that most of you have heard about, and I'm only going to refer to his nickname, and it's called the Admiral. And this was a gentleman who, for when I first started this process in this exchange over 5 years ago, the Admiral was taking in the dinar from people, and he was working as an aggregator, and he's the one who's going to operate all this, and the Admiral is based out of Reno. Well, I have a friend who talks with the Admiral anytime he wants to. They talk about once every 2 weeks. They used to talk every week. And when I was going to go to Reno, and where the Admiral's located, I said, you know, can you get me in touch? I have talked with the Admiral himself very briefly on the phone, but we've never had an extended conversation. It was basically, he was talking with somebody else. I was there with that person. I said hi to him, and we talked for about 5 seconds, but we are both very much familiar with each other. Well, I was going to ask to meet him and find out what's really going on, what's really taking place in this exchange. And when I talked with my friend, he said, you need to know, Dave, that the Admiral, the guy that everybody thinks is the one who's collected all this dinar from everybody, he hasn't done anything. He is not an aggregator. He has absolutely nobody underneath him. He is just himself as an individual, and he's caught up in believing that the 800 numbers are going to come through. Folks, you've heard me been talking about that for over 3 years, that nobody is funding that process. And when I told my friend, I said, you got to be kidding me. There's over 10,000 people that supposedly have sent their currencies in and supposed to be underneath him. And here's what we came to the conclusion. The man that is the Admiral, he's a real guy. But there's another person out there that called himself the Admiral, and he's the one that collected all the currencies. And guess what, folks? We can't find anybody that knows who he is or where all that currency is. Now, I had a relationship with a man who I called the Big Broker, and he was Reno-based, and he had basically we were told, was the largest broker in the world. He's not in Reno anymore. He shut his Reno office down, and he moved his currencies to another part of the country. So whatever you hear about going on in Reno, folks, it appears it's all false. Now, what I'm going to share with you is my opinion. I can't necessarily prove this as hard, tangible evidence, but myself and a lot of my colleagues that are very connected at the top were in similar agreement with this. Anything that you're hearing about what's happening in Reno is a deliberate distortion designed to distract you. It is designed to pull you into them, their group, their organization, so you will never learn about where the true private exchanges are, such as the one that I am in. Everything you're reading on the blog sites about the 800 numbers, which nobody can tell you where the money's coming from that. Yes, they're being fed information. I'm not saying that they're dishonest people. They're believing what they're being told. But if you ask them hard questions, who's your source? How well do you know about them? Where they're getting their money? And how confident are you? And they can't give you good questions. They'll say, well, it's coming from the elders. Well, which elders? There's about 128 of the different dragon families, folks, and they all have a lot of money. So which elders? And there's some of those elders that are plain, flat, black hat elders that fund those that we call the cabal. So here's my opinion, and I'm backed up by this with some of my best colleagues. Anything that you hear about the currency exchange that is Reno-based is basically a deliberate distortion, and they want to keep you involved in it so you will never come over to where the real stuff is. Now, there will never be a public RV, folks, because who's got the hundreds of trillions of dollars to pay for that? There are only private currency exchanges such as I am involved with. And yes, there are some. I have said many times, your broker and your buyer has to be involved with an authorized contract with U.S. Treasury, because Treasury is going to control about how much money is going to be released. They are the ones that will control the release and the flow of funds. I have been recently, in the last year, in communication with 4 different individuals that all say that they're talking with people from U.S. Treasury. And you want to know what? Every one of their stories are different. None of them have the same story. What does that tell you? You either got people that are posing as Treasury that are flat out lying, or you got people who are with Treasury and are deliberately giving false information to keep people out of it. And here's what I know. The exchange that I am involved with my broker and with my buyer, they have a written contract with U.S. Treasury in conjunction with other countries around the world, and my brokers and buyers have seen the bank account in the bank in Hong Kong where the money is. Folks, there's going to be a limited amount of funds that are going to be released through these currency exchanges. And I'm saying all this to let you know, if you're listening to other stuff, folks, there's a whole lot of people out there, over 10,000, that are going to be totally disappointed because they've never been involved in a legitimate broker buyer who has a contract with the U.S. Treasury. That's my opinion. It's backed up by a lot of my colleagues, and we're pretty strong in believing that. At the end of the day, folks, everybody has to make their own choice. People make their choices about what they want to do, and I wish the best to you, of all of you who think that you're doing fine. I would challenge you, do your homework, follow the money, find out where the money's coming from, and how secure and how solid is that information. So, that's what I wanted to share about the exchange, because other than that, there is nothing that's new. I have shared with you that everything is done that needs to be done, and we're basically just waiting for the top people at the very top to make the decision to release the funds. And that is a political decision because it involves basically, global finances, and global money flow is what it does. So there's a timing of all of that. Ask me when. I have absolutely no idea, and nobody does, because the people at the very top have zipped their lips, and almost everybody that is close and associated with them have non-disclosure agreements, and their lips are zipped. They do not want this leaking out. So I have no idea, folks. I know a lot of you have said, is this going to come before the end of the year? I don't know. Is this going to come before March? I don't know. It could come in 2 weeks, and it could come in 6 to 8 months. I don't know, and I don't know anybody who can give you tangible information that knows. There's a lot of people that have opinions. There's a lot of people that have stories. There's a lot of people that think they know. But when you really get to them, they have absolutely nothing that is tangible to back up what they are saying. So that's it. That's the information that I have about the currency exchange. And now, before I go on talking about the cryptocurrencies, Blanca, why don't you go ahead and come on in and just kind of give us your thoughts about what I just shared.
Well, I don't pay attention to the blog sites too much because it seems like just a lot of hype. And then, of course, we've been involved with what you've been telling us. But I do know that a lot of people have been involved with someone that they call the Admiral. So this news is going to be quite a shock, I think.
Yeah. Well, I had heard a couple years ago there was more than one admiral, and I had no idea who, what, or where. And this admiral, that the one that most people thought, I know his name, I know who he really is, I know his real first and last name, and I know what he does as an occupation, and I'm not going to say that out of confidentiality to protect him. But it was interesting because that was a surprise to me when he says he doesn't have anybody. He has not done any aggregating. He has nobody underneath him. He's just an individual. Because even my friend says, now, Admiral, do you know you've got about 10,000 people out there thinking that you're the guy that's got all these currencies? He says, I've heard that. But there's somebody else out there posing as an admiral that has them all, and we don't know who he is. We don't know where he is, and we don't know what he's done with all that currency that he's collected. So that's what's going to come, I think, as the shock to a lot of people. So, yeah. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay. I want to go in now and talking about cryptocurrencies. As you've heard me say on the program many times, I'm a firm believer in the cryptocurrency process because we live in a world, this financial slavery is controlled and dominated by the people who control the ebb and flow of the world's money supply. And those are the people that control the central banking system. And in the United States, it's the Federal Reserve is our central bank. The Federal Reserve in the United States is the dominant central bank in the world, and it has the ability to basically control what goes on out there in so many areas. There are a number of financial experts that are writing articles. They're appearing on the financial shows that are saying that we are very, very close to going through a complete global catastrophic financial collapse. And for the first time about 3 weeks ago, I saw an article that says, why hasn't that happened yet? Because most of these people are saying they're surprised it hasn't happened yet. And what the article says, what's keeping the economy going is the Federal Reserve printing up all of this money and distributing it out to the banks in conjunction with the government's layers of government doing debt spending. In essence, they're spending money that they don't have, driving up the debt. It's continuing to put money into the economy so that the flow keeps happening. What cryptocurrency has the ability to do, it has the ability to totally neuter these, what I call these dominant controllers of the world's money supply. See, what happens is we put our money in their banks, and the interest rates that the banks pay us is in conjunction with the interest rate that is established by the Federal Reserve. And right now you're lucky if you get 1.5% of any money you've placed in the bank, and if even that. But here's what most people don't know. All the billions and billions of dollars that we put into banks, the banks take that money and then they make about 150% to 200% per year profit, and they're only paying out 1 to 1.5. That's the corruption of the banking system. When you pull money out of the bank, they don't have that money to do that with. And when we start putting our money into the cryptocurrency industry, the cryptocurrency system, instead of the banks, it puts it in our control. We are in control of it. And I've been talking with some people in the last couple of weeks that are really very knowledgeable on the cryptocurrency process, and they're saying probably next spring is where we are going to see once again the explosion of the cryptocurrencies. And what's going to happen is, this is a common understanding with a lot of people, that will probably be also around the time that the financial collapse will happen. Because when you have very wealthy people that have millions and millions of what are called discretionary dollars, money beyond their normal living expenses, most of them put their money either in the stock market or in the real estate. Well, if you look back to 2008, both of those collapsed. So people who had money, millions of dollars in the stock market and real estate, they were the ones that lost a lot of money. Well, this time, there's a lot of people believing that when that collapse starts, instead of leaving their money in the stock market or even in real estate or even shifting it over to bonds, they're going to shift it over to cryptocurrencies. And cryptocurrencies are going to explode because of the massive infusion of new money coming into it. And the cryptocurrencies that are going to be the solid ones are those that are asset-backed, like Meta One. Now, Robert has mentioned to you on a past program, and he has mentioned at the workshops, Meta One is an asset-backed coin, which means based on the smart contracts that he has established that are put out there on the blockchain, the coin can never be sold less than its asset value. Well, folks, Robert has announced that he already has enough assets to take the coin to over $20,000 a coin. And if you heard him say, he's always very conservative about the rates that he announces. Let's just say he has enough to take it to over $20,000 a coin. He had mentioned also on the weekend on the cruise, is that he already has over 1 million people that are ready to purchase Meta One coins when the coin goes public. Now, anybody can go to Meta One and purchase the coin now as an individual. But these others are basically organized institutions that are representing individuals, and those are the ones that are going to have to wait until the coin goes public. For those of us that are involved with the Sedona Connection, we have been the ones that in essence have been able to be kind of like the guinea pigs, if you want to say that, the beta testers of the system, of bringing our money in so he can get all the bugs that are worked out, and we're the ones that are going to have the best benefit. Because you either purchase the coin at the earlier rate of $22 or now at $44. And folks, when that coin goes public, within a few months, it's going to be into the thousands. In the thousands. You're going to benefit very, very well. And it's been predominantly the people from the Sedona Connection who have been purchasing the coin. So, just know that Meta One coin has absolutely asset value in it. Everything with it is solid and strong. And folks, if you have discretionary income sitting in a bank, obviously it's your choice, whatever you want to do. But if you've got $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $1,000 sitting in a bank account and getting 1% interest per year, I'd put a lot of it into Meta One coin. That's what I'd do. You aren't going to lose any money on it. And you're going to have a better than a 99% probability you're going to make a lot of money on it. Okay? It's your choice. Obviously, choice whatever it is that you want to do. But we're the ones that are getting to be what we call the beta testers of the system that are benefiting. Because Robert has set this up and run this whole system to help humanity. He's not in it to make wealthy people become more wealthy and more powerful. He's here for the abundance of humanity, everyday folks like you and me. So, I can't think of anything else new that I have to share about Meta One other than that. But Blanca, do you want to come in and share any thoughts with us?
Well, of course, Meta One has a great website. It's got a funny website, metaonecoin.io or something like that.
No, it's just Meta, META, the number 1.io. That's the website.
.io. Okay.
META, the number 1.io. Meta1.io is the website.
Right. It's a very informative website. I've sent people who are just learning about crypto there, or some very, very sophisticated people to that website, and I've gotten good comments by both. Again, just like we talked earlier today when you were talking about quantum physics and consciousness, and where human awareness and consciousness is going to, it's the same thing with the financial system. If human consciousness is evolving, the way we transact and do commerce and relate to each other and exchange value has got to change too. It just makes sense. And so learning about the cryptocurrencies is a very good idea. And I think Robert has produced a very nice offering for people to take a look at. But of course, a lot of people have different philosophies about money, different risk levels. But if you pay attention to some of the pundits, staying in the traditional formats for your money may be more risky than going into the new. I know a lot of people feel more comfortable staying in the traditional, but sometimes that could be even more risky.
Yeah. Let me make some comments about some questions that have come in on Facebook. The new white paper. It should be out any day now, the new white paper. And folks, you want to know about Meta1, go to the website and read the 73-page white paper about Meta1 coin. It should answer the vast majority of all your questions. Then the other question is about the soft launch. The soft launch is going very well. Now, why has this taken so long? Well, what we're running into, there is a lot of resistance coming from the banking industry toward those that are running cryptocurrency businesses. There has been a huge amount of resistance from the traditional banks toward Meta1. Some of you have written checks and sent them in to Meta1 for your coins, and those checks have not been deposited. Well, the reason is because Meta1 is having to establish new bank accounts because the bank that they have just plain flat out closed the account down and wouldn't let them operate as a normal business. Now, everything is running fine, but what Robert has to do, he has to make sure that everything is running smoothly, and he has banks that are cooperating with Meta1 instead of resisting and creating hindrance to Meta1, and that's what's taking so long in this process before the launch goes. And folks, there was also the question about when he first started this, saying that you had a 2-year commitment to keep the coin for 2 years. Well, folks, that changed. The reason was because, see, in the beginning, they didn't know how much liquidity they were going to have. Well, what is the liquidity? The liquidity means that if you wanted to sell your coin, there was money in Meta1 bank account to give it to you. And so he was asking people to make a commitment up to 2 years so that the liquidity would grow. Well, once he got into backing it predominantly now by gold versus fine art, there's plenty of liquidity. So the 2-year issue doesn't apply anymore. You can sell your coin at any time after it goes public. Now, let me reiterate, or let me clarify this. If at any point in time you want your money back before it goes public, they'll give it back to you. They will give the money back to you at the price that you paid. If you paid $22 and it's now $44 and you want your money back, don't expect them to give you $44. They will give you back what you paid for it. If you want out of Meta1 coin, they are always willing to do that. Once it goes public, then it will be the market rates that will drive the value of the coin up. And what we highly, highly encourage you is to leave the coin in as it grows in its value to beyond the $20,000 a coin. Because why would you take the coin out when it's worth $1,000 when 3 and 4 months later it's going to be worth $20,000 a coin? If you need money, remember Meta1 Bank is setting up a process that you will have an automatic line of credit against the value of your coins. So you can borrow money, and there's 2 different systems. You could actually borrow money and not have to pay it back because the value of the coin will drive it up so that it will be replaced through that. They have a system to be able to do that. Or it would just be a regular bank loan, and you'd have to just make your payments at the normal, 3 or 4% bank interest rate for the money that you got. But if you need money, you have the ability to get access to it through a loan versus selling your coins. So you can hold on to the coins while the value continues to go up. So that's the questions, and those were also the questions that I had that were on the emails that came in. I want to just take a look at one more. Okay. The question was, who were the buyers of the coin if you want to sell it? Just more people coming in. It's just like, when you have a share of stock, if you want to sell it, there's somebody else who's buying it on the exchange, the stock exchange. So a coin is basically, in the cryptocurrency system, a coin is very similar to a share of stock. It operates the same way. And what you hear about a wallet is basically also very, very similar to a bank account. So when you hear about your wallet in the crypto industry, think in terms of a bank account. When you hear about a coin, just think in terms of a share of stock, is what it is. Okay, and that's how that system works. So with that, Blanca, is there anything else you would like to add? And folks, let me mention this. If any of you want to come in and you have some questions or you have some comments that you would like to make, what we want you to do, go in. Here's the number. The call-in number is 515-605-9356. That's 515-605-9356. And then press 1 on your touch tone phone. It kind of raises up a little hand for us to know that you want to come on the air, and we will do that for you, because beyond that, I'm about ready to wrap up the program tonight, other than just some back and forth discussions that Blanca and I are going to have here. Blanca, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us?
No, other than it's pretty exciting news. Did anything new pop up, or comments from people during the cruise about the Meta One coin?
No.
Their comments about it, or... Mm-hmm.
Let's just say that Robert gave some information that I'm not at liberty to share over the internet about what the stuff is going on. But let's just say, folks, you're going to find that when he says that the asset value is above $20,000 a coin, that's a conservative estimate. I'm not at liberty to say what he said there. So, okay. So, a question came up. It says on the Facebook, it says, I want to buy more Meta One. Shall I send a cashier's check or money order to get it? Folks, you need to call the staff and ask them that question. I don't handle orders, and I'm not the best one to answer that question. When you call them and make your order over the phone, they're the ones that can handle those issues for you the best. Okay? Blanca, we do have one individual here that actually we now have two individuals that have basically said they'd like to come on the air. Oh, now I'm seeing a third one. So let's just go right straight to the individual callers. Are we ready to do that?
Yes. Did you want me to check on the others while you're on this, or we'll just jump on it together?
Let's just jump on it together, because we may go through this quickly. So
okay.
We're going to go to the first individual. He is from area code 617, so he is coming up. Area code 617, you're on the air. What can we help you with tonight, and what's your name?
Hi, Dave. Matt's Potential here.
Okay.
And hi, Blanca.
Hello.
I did not expect to get straight into the live portion of the call with you, because I have some, I guess you might call, sensitive information, and I wanted to run it by Blanca or you to see if it's anything that you would like me to proceed with. So, in a roundabout way, let me just say that some of us have still kept in touch with the Deep Disclosure team with M&M.
Yes.
And they recently sent out a newsletter, and there was a PS at the very end of their letter. Are you familiar with that?
I am totally familiar with it. I have responded back by email to people, who have been involved with that, who have asked about that, because I didn't want to go into an extensive, I didn't want to put it totally out there, on my website. But let's just say this. There's a lot of false statements in there. I brought up my response, and I'm just going to make some comments from that. They had basically said in that that basically Meta OneCoin and I were involved and that we are plagued with fraud convictions. False, folks. Flat out lies. There has never been any fraud convictions against me ever from anybody at any point in time. They said that I'm being investigated. Well, I don't know anybody who's investigating me. Now, if you want to have my full response, send me an email and I'll email it to you. But that stuff that they said, let's just say if we wanted to file charges with them against those statements, we could put them in jail for what they said. The statements they made are serious legal implications that we could have them thrown in jail for what they said. My experience with the M's is that I don't want anything to do with them. I don't work with them anymore because I found out over and over and over again they're just storytellers who can never back up their information with tangible evidence about what they have to say. Constantly telling stories. After a year and a half of saying the money's coming, money's coming, money's coming, they were no different than what was happening on the blog sites with the dinar-based blog sites. Oh, the money's coming, we're going to have it. And nothing ever happens. When I got here to Florida, I was able to get in touch personally with some well-established people, and they don't want hardly anything to do with them anymore either because it was their experience was the same. Yes, Matthew has a lot of contacts, but he can never deliver on what he talks about. Now, that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want the full story, send me an email and I'll send you the full response that I give out, because I'm not going to put it out there for the whole public. I'm not going to get in a tit-for-tat argument with them back and forth. I wasn't even going to bring it up, but you brought it up. Okay?
Well, I don't have a dog in the race, so I have no attachments, and I just merely wanted to give you a chance to respond if you wanted to, or to whatever extent you wanted to, and you did, but that's fine for me.
Okay? Is that it?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you. All right, appreciate it.
Okay, my brother. Bye.
Okay, all right. Okay, we're going to go to the next caller, and they are from area code 336. Area code 336. You're on the air. What's your name and what can I help you with?
This is Jana.
Okay.
I just wondered if you had any kind of guesstimate as to how many MetaOne coins have already been sold.
I don't know, Jana. You could ask staff on that. All I know, there's 450 million coins. They will never be more than that is printed up, and they are not anywhere close to all of them being sold. Nowhere even close.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to go to the next individual. He's from area code 301. I should say they are from area code 301. Excuse me. I don't know if this is a man or a woman, but area code 301, you're here on the air. What's your name and what can we help you with?
Hi, Dave. This is Joel, and my question is, has Mr. Dunlap given an update as to when he thinks MetaOne will go public?
He was hoping to have it done by the end of the year. And but again, the problem is what I had mentioned earlier on the program. It's working within the existing banking industry. The banks are starting to target businesses that are selling cryptocurrencies, and they're shutting their accounts down. Robert had an associate that he was aware of, and this man had $600 million in his bank account. And because he was involved with Robert in MetaOne, they shut his account down and gave him all of his money. The banks, because remember, the cryptocurrency industry is a threat to the existing banking industry. And there's some of the banks that are just flat out being hostile toward the cryptocurrency industry, and that's what's taking more time for him to get this established.
So are you guesstimating it'll be maybe January or February?
That's just a pure guess. I have no idea. It's just a guess. No idea.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay, good night. Okay, we have one more individual here. It's from area code 214. We're going there. And let's see, it's coming up here. Area code 214. You're on the air. What's your name and what can we help you with?
Hey Dave, my name is Michael. I have a couple questions about the Meta One coin. Are you doing that?
Sure.
One of them is I have them on Twitter and on YouTube, and they're constantly, coming up with new, information and explaining it all. But do y'all have somebody that's trying to promote it? Because there's not even 500 followers on YouTube. It's like it never grows.
They have not promoted the YouTube, but I can tell you that there's well over 8,000 people who have purchased coins.
Alright.
So, Meta One doesn't go out there and push to everybody, send it to out everybody, all these updates that they're putting out on YouTube. People just discover that or they tell them by word of mouth. They'll get there eventually, but they haven't been sending that as a notice to everybody that has purchased coins.
Alright. Also, alright, you said it's 450 million coins. And he said when it comes public, how do they go on the valuation? If you do the math on that, that's like $9 trillion. How is it? Is he leveraging it, or how?
Yes, he is, and he does. That is explained in the white paper how the gold is leveraged, and that is a common accepted practice in the open public markets about how gold can be leveraged to basically establish an asset value. It's not a $1-for-$1 asset value. It's a leveraged asset value based on the gold, and that is very common.
Okay. I know some people on YouTube, and I talked to them about it, the Meta One, and they're willing to help. When it gets closer to going public, whatever. They have like 100,000 subscribers, and they're into the cryptocurrencies. So. I could send you an email, man. Just
well, don't send it to me. Don't send it to me. Send it to the staff because I have nothing to do with the day-to-day administration of Meta One Coin.
Okay.
I'm not the one who.
Mariana.
I'm just an information source. I have nothing to do with their day-to-day administration. Okay.
Well, one more. You did answer the question about the soft launch, so that's still in process.
Yep.
That's supposed to happen with all the people that already bought the coins.
Yes.
First, and then it's going to go public.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's just hang in there and cross our fingers and pray on all of it, I guess.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay. Yeah. Bye-bye. There was just a question that just came up on Facebook. It says, "What happened with the legal action against Robert in Texas about the paintings?" The guy who did the paintings was an absolute fraud. He flat out fraudulated his ownership of the paintings, and what he filed against Robert and Meta One Coin, they counterfiled against him. It ended up going to court, and that guy is on his way to jail. The guy who put that stuff out totally fabricated and was fraudulent in what he was doing in the reports that he put out about Meta One. So yes, that is where you could go on the internet and you could say that, Meta One Coin was involved in fraud, because the man who put the information out fabricated all that stuff. He said he owned the paintings when he never legally owned them, and he has had charges filed against him, and he's the one that's on his way to jail. So, okay. All right, I think that was it. Blanca, I don't see anybody else with any questions. Do you?
No, I don't. It looks like you got them all, Dave.
I think we got them all, and I think I caught most of the questions that came up on Facebook, because I can't always follow it, so I don't always see all of them, but I got most of them. But I think that's it, and I think we're ready to wrap up for tonight.
I do too.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, not Not really. I
Oh.
think we're good.
Okay, folks, I think we're ready to call it a program tonight. And again, we want to thank you for joining us, and then we'll see you next week again on the Sedona Connection. Okay, good night.